So guys, welcome back. This is our part two of the series of Syscoin, and now we're talking more about Ethereum 2.0 post-merge. Ethereum, as you guys all know, I think they transitioned from proof of work to proof of stake, and now we're just taking or making a comparison between Syscoin and Syscoin and Ethereum. I'm sorry. And Brad, what do you think about the Ethereum 2.0 post-merge, and what can you say about the Syscoin functionalities? And yeah, just explaining us a little bit of just a comparison between these two.
Yeah, well, achieving scalability has been a big challenge for Ethereum, and a lot of that has to do with all of those downstream dependencies of the relatively massive adoption that Ethereum has gotten, right? It's got a very large community of a lot of people with different philosophies, right? Which is great. But with all those downstream dependencies, it can create an outcome as far as technological advancement that is suboptimal, really. I think if Vitalik were able to just sit down with his original OG crew and say, okay, knowing what we know now, how would we redesign Ethereum from the ground up? But they can't really do that. They've been on this proof of stake train for so long that I think Vitalik really, just looking over the things that he said publicly leading up to the merge in the months prior, I don't know that he's completely and totally positive about it, but I think he feels a need to depict that to the community, right? I feel that if Ethereum were to be completely reinvented, the layer one, from the layer one, the consensus and everything all the way up, that it would look a lot more like Syscoin than it will look about a year from now. We're already past the merge. The user experience for the most part with Ethereum is about the same as what it was before. They're looking towards implementing dank sharding for data availability and things like this. They're doing proof of stake with Casper for Finality. I think a lot of these things aren't necessary anymore. We've learned a lot of things and how to solve for Finality and how to provide data availability within the proof of work paradigm, without throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I feel that that's what Ethereum has really done with this move to the so-called merge. There's already concerns arising over the possibility of censorship on the network, the risks surrounding just proof of stake in general. It's important to understand that proof of stake has never been under the burden of like the level of adoption that Ethereum will put on it, right? So it's essentially untested in this way, and it does have economic vulnerabilities. If someone happens to own a lot, or that maybe they get a bailout from a government or a bail-in from the citizens of a country's bank accounts, and they decide to take all this money and just buy a whole bunch of Ethereum or something like that, then that's a pretty crazy hypothetical, but it's there. They can gain influence over the network by owning a lot of the coin. That's simply not the case with proof of work, and that's one of the reasons that Syscoin has stuck with proof of work being, as essentially the most proven means of consensus, under the burden of adoption, and because of its resilience to things like quantum stealth attacks and black swan events, generally speaking, more so than proof of stake. So for something that's going to be able to withstand wars, and then external problems like that, governments and wars and interference and things like that, proof of work is really a lot more suited, and that's why we stick to that for layer one. We don't throw proof of stake out completely. We think it's important. We think it's very useful for layer twos and layer threes, and it even has a place sort of on layer 1 as well, but not at the base, at the very base of the security and the decentralization, more as something on top that can augment security, which is how we use it with our masternodes network, right? So, you know, with Syscoin, another interesting thing, if to get into something a little bit technical, is how we go about achieving finality. With Ethereum, it's proof of stake plus Casper. The block time is still 10 seconds, right? However, the finality that Ethereum will provide will come about every 14 minutes for a block. Or I think it's, I'm trying to remember, it's like 3 epochs. And, you know, so that's kind of a slow finality. If that finality cannot be achieved on post-merge Ethereum, it breaks the chain. Whereas with Syscoin, speaking of our layer 1, the block time is 2.5 minutes, which is quite a bit longer than Ethereum. However, the finality comes at about 2.5 minutes plus like 10 seconds. So it takes like basically 10 seconds after each block to achieve the finality, or which is an important element of security here. So we secure the blocks much faster and in a decentralized way using 2,500 plus masternodes on our network, and it's resilient against an event where for some reason finality can't be achieved, which on Syscoin would be incredibly rare. I can't really speak for Ethereum in that case, but if Ethereum, like I said, if Ethereum can't achieve finality, it's a breaking event. So I'm just speaking really as far as layer 1, right? That's what I'm mostly talking about here. Syscoin, I feel, is superior to Ethereum as a layer 1. We're 100% compatible with Solidity smart contracts and everything. So we have the benefits of that, of appealing to that market of developers that use Ethereum. But we've been able to solve a lot of the challenges that Ethereum faced while it was proof of work, to provide scalability while keeping proof of work, right? Whereas Ethereum has really just kind of gone the other direction. So we think Syscoin is very unique in that regard. There's no other blockchain essentially in our position. And these other chains, these other proof of stake chains that have EVMs, like your Binance Smart Chains or whatnot, I don't want to throw shade on them, but they stood in a gap. They filled an important gap for Ethereum's lack of scalability, and they've been relevant in the market because of that. But once Ethereum is completely proof of stake and it has all its modularity in place with the dank sharding and and all of this, and it's got rollups running on top, which Syscoin currently has one as well. But in the future, when Ethereum has that, where are these other chains going to be? They're not really going to have a competitive edge on Ethereum at all. They're not going to be filling in a gap anymore, and their fundamental designs are not modular. They're monolithic. So what you'll see is you'll probably see a lot of these other chains say, hey, well, we can be modular too. And the way that we'll do it is we'll just spin up some rollups and have them settle on our layer 1. But the problem is it's not modular from the ground up. There's absolutely no point in using a rollup on some proof of stake chain out there that doesn't have a robust network. Whenever you can go use Syscoin, a rollup on Syscoin that's giving you Bitcoin grade security, or do a rollup on Ethereum where you have all that TVL, right? So so it's an interesting position that these other projects are in.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the explanation, man. We're just seeing, hey, Solana filled the gap, BSC filled the gap. I mean, Polygon and all these, they wanna build right now the layer 2. They have side chains, right? They're not basically layer 2. I mean, we should cover this, I think, in the next video. We're just doing a overall comparison. You said that Syscoin is way above or just better than Ethereum. And what's left? I mean, the comparison between Polygon and Syscoin, or with Solana, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think as soon as Syscoin comes with layer 2, all these other blockchains are relevant or not? What are your thoughts on that?
There are some projects that are relevant, and I think Polygon will be. It certainly is, and it will be. And the reason is because they do have their eyes very heavily on. They've had their eyes on ZK for a long time, right? And we've had early talks with them. I remember back when we were research partners with Matic. We still are. I mean, that's still in place, and there's still some talks that every now and then Jag and Sandeep will have a talk with each other or interact in some way. Not as much as we used to, but they early on were looking at ZK as well, and we had a lot of early discussions with them about that. So now we see their Hermes solution, and things like this. They've been working on a lot, and there's some interesting things about that. They're trying to make progress in decentralizing the sequencers and things like that. Of course, that's probably the biggest challenge with ZK. But I would say the biggest difference between Polygon and Syscoin is that Polygon really has always been focused on depending on Ethereum for its security, right? Yeah. So Syscoin, I would say we kind of depend on Bitcoin for our security, the Bitcoin mining network. Whereas Polygon still to this day, even after the merge, they still depend upon Ethereum, for security, and it's proof of stake. So it kind of puts them in an interesting position. They obviously they have to tout that Ethereum is incredibly secure because they're still dependent on it, and I can understand their philosophy too, or their mindset. They get a lot of their funding from the Ethereum community, and so it behooves them to speak well of Ethereum and to really try to foster and help the Ethereum ecosystem, which we understand completely. We have no problem with that.
Thanks a lot for the explanation, Brad. I mean, it was now we talked about the comparison of Ethereum post merge. And if you have any thoughts or any comments, guys, just let us know. What is your favorite blockchain? Maybe we didn't saw one, a better one than Syscoin. If there is one, just type it in here. And I think in the next video we will cover a Syscoin layer 2, just heading to layer 2, the new technology, Web3. I mean, there's a lot to say, a lot to talk about. I think, Brad, let's go with part 3, right?
Yeah, there's plenty to cover.